Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for your patience and for being here today. Welcome to the first of our 2020 Cambio de Colores webinar series. I'm Veronica Perez Picasso, and I'm the Cambio Center Coordinator. Today we'll hear the panel titled Higher Education and Service Providers, Best Practices for Immigrant Communities. And I'd like to welcome our Cambio Center Director, Stephen Janetta, who will be the moderator for today, and he'll present the speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Veronica. Well, welcome everybody, and I'm glad you could join us this afternoon for the first of our 3 webinars. I know it's not the same as the conference we have. We had to cancel that because of the pandemic, which I'm sure everybody understands. But we did want to do some things to recognize all the work people did putting together their presentations, and also have a chance for us to get together at least online a little bit this week instead of being able to do it in person. There's a couple things I wanted to share with you. One is the proceedings from the last conference are all available. They'll be on the Cambio de Colores website. And then also what we did was for the presenters that we had accepted for the conference this year, we offered them the opportunity to do videos, short videos of their presentations, and we've been collecting those, and we'll be posting those online starting on Friday. And then the conference for next year, pandemic notwithstanding, we hope to have June 16th through 19th, so essentially the same week next year, and in St. Louis again at the University of Missouri St. Louis campus. So make note of that if you can. So what we're going to try to do is we've got 3 sessions this afternoon, and each presenter will take about 10 to 12 minutes. And we'll take some comments. If you've got questions or comments, just put them in the chat. And then at the end of each session, we'll take just a couple minutes to do some questions specific to the presenter. And then at the end, hopefully we'll have about 15 minutes and we can have a little bit more of a discussion with all the presenters. So, and then please remember to mute your microphones when you're not speaking. We'll get started with the first session. The first one is called Best Practices to Ensure Recruitment, Retention, and Graduation of Latinx Hispanic Early Child Educators, Sharing the Experiences with a Child Development Certificate Offered at a Community College. The presenters, Angélica Reina and Tulsa Community College. Dr. Reina is an assistant professor and Latinx Hispanic Outreach Coordinator for the Child Development and Education Program at the Tulsa Community College. Prior to that, she worked as a child development and parenting education specialist for Family and Consumer Sciences Extension at the University of Kentucky. She has also been involved in extensive research in different areas impacting Latinx Hispanic families living in the U.S. The experiences of Latino victims with domestic violence services, and the physical and mental health among Latino mothers, Latino youth schooling experiences, and the development of resilience in the face of dramatic life situations. So she's got a lot of experience both in the research and education side, and we'll welcome Dr. Reina this afternoon. Angélica, you're up.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
You sound good, yes.
Okay. So I would like to share my presentation. Would that be possible?
Yes, I already opened it so that you can share there.
Okay, hold on. Okay, perfect. Okay, well, first of all, thank you to the Cambio de Colores conference for this invitation. Thank you for creating this virtual space for us to share our experience with the Latinx community, especially in my area, which is education. Today, I will be sharing the work that I'm doing here at the community college. And in doing that, I will talk about the barriers I have encountered and also the factors that have helped me to bring educational opportunities to Latinx students here in Tulsa. So just to provide a little bit of background, I was hired by the Tulsa Community College, TCC, back in the fall of 2016. The George Kaiser Family Foundation is a foundation here in Tulsa that centers its initiatives on ending or breaking the cycle of poverty experienced by the Tulsans, in particular families of colors. So providing them children with high quality education is one of the first steps. So the Kaiser Foundation understands the need for bilingual educators in Tulsa. So with that thing in mind, they requested to the TCC to create this job position so I could come here and do recruitment, outreach, and teach child development classes in Spanish for the Latinx educators of Tulsa. So if you can see here, my job position was very intentional, and I have institutional support from the beginning. I'm going to talk a little bit about our academic programs and scholarship that we offer here. I really don't mean to sell or promote our programs. I just find important to describe them to provide you with some context. So here at TCC, we offer Associate in Science and Early Childhood Education, Associate in Applied Sciences, and a couple of certificates, a Certificate of Mastery, which a student can finish it in a year. And we used to offer an online child development certificate that it was shut down by the time that I came here. We also have a scholarship that is granted by the Kaiser Foundation. This scholarship pays for tuition, fees, books, anything related to the program, and it also pays for an internship to students who would like to get some practicum hours. So when I moved here, my main task was to go to the community and recruit students who wanted to become educators of children. So I was new here. So even though I was a Latina and I speak Spanish and I'm part of the community, I wasn't part of the community in Tulsa. So the first step is to become familiar with them, to share with them my role in TCC. I talked with a lot of Latinx leaders. I joined a lot of community organizations that work for and with Latinos individuals. I participate in volunteering community events. I created my own brochures and pamphlets with information about the programs and the scholarships. I had my own business card, both in English and Spanish. I went to a lot of parent conferences in high school events, health fairs, school, like welcome back to school fairs, every single event, days, night, and weekends. So because I wanted to become familiar with Tulsa and I wanted to share with everybody about my job and what I was trying to do. So what I learned during my first year of work in doing my recruitment activities was a couple of things. The first was that for high school students, for the youth, many of them were interested in getting or applying to STEAM careers, engineering, business and administration, some of this in nursing. Because in Oklahoma, we have this problem that teachers don't get a good pay. We rank like in the 34th national in teacher pay. So our teachers don't get paid well. So some Latinx students get a little bit disencouraged because of that. Some of the students who usually apply for our programs, who are from the Latinx community, find very encouraging to have a scholarship. Now, most of the individuals in the Latinx community who really wanted to become teachers, apply for our program, share some demographics. There were adult females, immigrants, had a basic level of English proficiency. Some of them experienced difficulties when navigating the US education systems. As an immigrant, some of you might know like how difficult it can be to navigate this system because it is overwhelming. And some of these individuals didn't have a social security number. So this group of women, future educators, they become my audience target. I wanted to open up educational opportunities for them. So everything that I started doing from there to now has been focused on that particular population. So what did I do? First, I did a lot of research at the national level to see what other programs, what they were doing at other colleges and universities, and meeting the educational needs of this particular population. So I came across with the Milwaukee Area Technical College, and I talked to Mr. David Espinosa. He was the instructor of the child development program there. And he told me, he shared that they offer an associate in applied science in a bilingual mode, meaning that they offer this associate all in Spanish and also all in English. They have a state grants, they pay for tuition, and the students were encouraged to take English classes. So I found this like a perfect model for me to follow. And I had this idea of, okay, let's do it here in Tulsa. Let's see if I can replicate this same program. But I came across with a barrier, and that is the TOEFL. As you might know, the TOEFL is a requirement to get admitted to any or most of the college in the United States when you are an international student. Now, when you are an adult learner, trying to pass a TOEFL can take years. I have talked to students, adult learning students, and sometimes can take you up to 3 to 5 years after taking classes and prepare yourself for this. So that's a huge barrier for the population that I'm trying to outreach. Social security number of fingerprints. For students who are applying for a child development academic program here in, I believe, anywhere in the United States, they need to have a background check because some of the courses are require them to work with children, to have some hours of practice with children. So DHS requires us and require Child Development Center, the students have a background check. So how do you get a background check? You get it through a social security number or with a fingerprints. Now, with the students who do not have a social security number here in Tulsa, the only way to get fingerprints is to go to the sheriff's office. Unfortunately, here, our sheriff's office have an agreement with ICE. So I have been advised by lawyers not to take our students to get fingerprints at the sheriff's office. So right now, students who do not have papers, I'm still dealing with that barrier and trying to figure out what else I can do. Regarding the TOEFL barrier, I found out that there is a child development certificate that is a national credential that it can be offered either through an academic side of a college or continuing education. So offering that program through continuing education, they don't require a TOEFL. So that was like the light of the tunnel, like, okay, I decided to offer it through continuing education. So I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about this certificate, this credential. This is the CDA, the Child Development Associate Credential, is a national recognized credential in early childhood education. This means that any educator who gets this credential can work in any state in the United States. This is a required for entry-level employment in child development centers. So an educator and student who gets the CDA credential can work as a teacher assistant The CDA covers 6 competency standards for caregivers and educators, and students can choose the setting, whether it's preschool, infant, toddler, family child care, or home visitor. They have to practice 480 hours with children. They need to complete a professional portfolio with me because I'm the instructor and academic advisor. So, and they need to prepare that in English. They have an observation from a CDA specialist, like a 2-hour observation at the end of the certificate. And this specialist revises, reviews the portfolio. And the students have also, they have to take a CDA exam in English or in Spanish, and it's a computer-based. They also take this at the end of the certificate. So how was designed this certificate at TCC? So students get to take 5 courses, the CDA courses in Spanish, although all the materials, the portfolio, they have to be written in English. They also are required to take 5 English classes concurrent with the CDA courses, with this idea to improve their English language proficiency and prepare them for a job later. We also have a partnership with Tulsa Educare. Tulsa Educare is a child development center, and they have 3 different facilities in Tulsa. So we had a partnership with them, and our students can go there and do the practicum, the 480 hours. And the Kaiser Foundation provides the scholarship for tuition books and the paid internship. So the way we set up the program is in this way. Every fall, at the end of the fall, I recruit a cohort of students, between 10 and 15 students. This number is a little bit low because of 2 reasons. One reason is because we need to make sure they have a spot available for the practicum, for the internship. And second, because there is a lot of one-on-one mentorship. So I work a lot with them individually, with the classes, with the portfolio and everything they need. So I like to spend a lot of time with each of those students. Once the students apply and get accepted to the certificate program, they take an English placement test so we can place them in the right English classes. They take the 5 CDA classes throughout the year. So they take 2 classes in the spring, 1 class in the summer, and 2 in the fall. Both classes, the CDA and the English classes, are offered 1 night a week, 3 hours each classes. So my classes usually taught on Tuesday night, 6 to 9, and the English classes taught on Thursday night, 6 to 9 p.m. All courses are offered at a place convenient for them. We have a facility located at a Latinx neighborhood. So it's an easy way for them to get there, to get the classes, to get a computer, and to get all the resources they need for the courses. The academic program starts in January, ends in December. The internship starts in February and ends in November. The students get paid 9 hours per week, and they work 15 hours a week. We set it up this way because we understand how busy of these students' lives are. They have families, they have 1, sometimes 2, sometimes 3 jobs. So the way it has been set up is understanding their busy life. And this has helped, of course, for retention and graduation. Other factors that have helped me in this program to be successful is mentorship, guidance, and support by the director of the scholarship, director of the internship, the Tulsa Educate teachers, mentors, and administrators, continuing education, in the English program teams. So we all work together as a team with the main purpose is to meet the specific needs of this group of students. In the academic program, in the classes that I teach, we also talk a lot of what it means to be a bilingual and bicultural educator. They are teaching children who are bilingual and who live in a bicultural world. So it is important that our students learn to create curriculum activities that resonates with the students' backgrounds, with the Latinx background and experiences. And also our program centers on giving students the tool they needed to be successful educators in the United States. So once they finish the 480 hours in their certificate, Tulsa Educare always looks for hiring our students. So many of our alumni are working for them now. So what we do in our classes before they graduate, we prepare them to work in those settings. So we help them, we work a lot on how to write professional emails, how to interact with families, how to interact with colleagues and supervisors who are not Latinx, how to create a CVA or resume, and how to prepare for a job interview. And this is the last slide. I wanted to share with you a couple of the pictures of our students and educators. We try to have a lot of fun in our classes, and we try to learn from each other's experiences. It is important for them to have a very safe space where they can share, because they come from a Latino country and they've been working there in different areas. So they're having now to learn how to work for an American institution, how to be a student for an American institution. So we have very long conversations about that. What are the rules? What are the norms? What can you do and what you cannot? And on your right side, you can see that's the graduation day of our last cohort in December. And like I said, most of these students are already working as children's educators in Tulsa. And many of them are studying for the TOEFL because they like to continue their education. It seems to me, and because of what I hear from them, is that the CDA certificate opens up opportunities for them. They tell me they feel like, oh, I can get a degree in the United States. I can have an education in the United States. I can do something. So I think this is, for me, is the most beautiful, the great part of doing this is feeling that they are encouraged to keep going. So now I'm still working on the TOEFL barrier and see how I can keep helping these educators to go on with educational experience and trying to keep giving them opportunities. I'm sorry. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hannah. Our next session is by Karina Skrbec at St. Francis Community Services. Her talk will be on the St. Francis Community Services Youth Program. It's called Best Foot Forward. Reina is the Youth Program Coordinator at St. Francis Community Services. She has a degree as a Professor of Primary Education from Instituto Normal de Quilmes and a degree in International Relations from Universidad del Salvador in Buenos Aires, Argentina. She also received her Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and Spanish from the University of Missouri, St. Louis. She's been at St. Francis for 9 years as a parent-teacher coordinator, refugee settlement manager, and in the past years as a youth program coordinator. Karina, are you all set?
I'm all set. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, you sound good.
Yes, I already posted the slideshow. Can everybody see it?
It looks nice. It looks great.
Good. Hello, everybody. My name is Karina Skrbec. I'm the Youth Program Coordinator at St. Francis Community Services. St. Francis Community Services is one of the Catholic Charities Federated agencies that works with the most vulnerable population in the St. Louis area. The youth program in particular works with children of immigrant families. And as you can see here with my accent, I'm an immigrant myself. And I had to raise 2 kids in the St. Louis area, and I understand firsthand the struggles family go through when trying to walk their children through the educational system. I was raised by immigrant parents in Buenos Aires too, so I not only understand the feeling of being a parent and not knowing how to navigate the system, but also understand what the children feel and what are the children's struggles. So in 2015, we started this program growing from a previous existing program that was operated by Catholic Charities. So to understand better our program, we need to understand that the population we serve, the children, not only 100% of them receive qualify for free and reduced lunches that talks about their socioeconomic level, but all of our students are from immigrant families, overwhelmingly from Latino families, and we also have 14% of our students from Vietnamese families. When these families are asked about their English proficiency skills, 100% of them claim to use interpreters during their medical appointments or parent-teachers conferences. When asked these parents to rate their English proficiency skills, 82% say that they don't speak or understand any English at all, while only 18% would rate their skills as basic. We also have to understand the formal education the parents of our children received in their home countries. 41% have not completed the elementary school, while only 18% of the parents of the children we serve completed high school. So these are some challenges the families face when trying to navigate the system. But even though they face these challenges, families are our main asset because we all know all parents want their children to succeed in school. So our approach in the youth program is very holistic. We not only serve the children's academic and social needs, but we all try to work with families and communities, creating strong relationships. So the programs we offer are basically divided in two big components. One it tries to address the academic gap these children face, and the other one is a summer camp that is just for entertainment. So the programs we have to bridge the academic gaps are two: Best Foot Forward for children who themselves are proficient in English, and New Beginnings for children who recently arrived to the country. These children are ages K through 5th and meet twice a week throughout the school year for 2 hours. During these 2 hours, we try to provide academic support through homework help and reading, and we also try to strengthen the social and emotional skills of these children, addressing social and emotional topics that are relevant to their particular needs. We also provide students with extracurricular opportunities, so they have the opportunity to explore other interests besides academics. We've had many clubs since 2015, like coding, computer coding, bike works, soccer club, but the most popular are art club and art studio and guitar clubs, where children meet once a week, also throughout the school year. Summer camp, we changed completely our academic mindset to more entertaining. And the goal is that the children have the opportunity to explore their richness, not only cultural, historic, but also entertainment riches the St. Louis area has to offer, and that the students become themselves community ambassadors when they talk about their experience to their family, and the venues they visited become future family outing destinations. And through play, games, and art, we try to forge a strong relationship with peers, staff, and community in general. We have different events that become rituals that not only children, but also parents and the larger community look forward to, like the Christmas concert, where parents rehearse with students Christmas carols in Spanish and English, and then perform in a local nursing institution. We have an art exhibit in which students showcase their work of art to the larger community in a Meet the Artist format. We have a volunteer appreciation night where families show their gratitude to the scores of volunteers that enable our program. And we participate on an annual basis in the Read, Write, Run Marathon. This event not only help students and family to create a strong sense of belonging to the larger communities, but it enriches them by giving the opportunities to share and serve with others. So the youth program, working very closely with the families and the community, addresses all the family's needs, not only the child's needs, by making internal referrals to our other departments like mental health, case management, or legal assistance, or referrals to other organizations to address other needs. Students participate in a back-to-school program where they receive all the school supplies and clothing they need to start the school year. And we also partnered with the Healthy Kids Express dental van, where 100+ students receive dental cleaning and dental examination twice a year, and restorative services if needed. So what we achieved, we grew from 45 students enrolled in our first summer camp in 2015 to 145 children served. 98 of our students enrolled improved their social skills. 89% improved their reading skills throughout the school years, and attendance, and this is a big achievement because it took us a long way to come where we are. So on average, students attend 90% of the enrichment classes, whereas it is art club, art studio, or guitar. And on average, students attend 75% of our tutoring sessions. 100% of our students advance in grade level. So why I think our program works? We are very proud that we were able to create strong partnerships, not only working very closely with students, but with families and the community in general. We, as a program, value individuals and interactions, and our channels of communications are very fluid and always open. We have a servant leadership approach, and as a team, the youth program is committed to continuous improvement. We have daily stand-up meetings of 15 to 20 minutes long, where we address challenges we faced the previous day and plan for the day to start. And we have monthly staff meetings where we practice retrospection, and we plan on how to address necessary change. And the other thing that I think is very important on our team is the staff diversity. We are not only diverse racially, ethnically, culturally, but we have very completely different personalities, which enrich the daily standard meetings and all the staff meetings, and make us very, I think, make us work more efficiently. And this is all we have for today. Thank you very much.
Steve, you're on mute.
Details get me every time. So we have one more session left, and then we'll take questions for all three presenters. The last session is by Zeno and Koch from Casa de Salud in St. Louis. And it's about expanding access to mental health care through collaboration, Casa de Salud's mental health collaborative. Let's see. Ben is Casa de Salud's first coordinator at the Mental Health Collaborator. He helped launch the program, which has been open for more than 2 years. His experience in collaborating with a team of organizations to ensure patients' access to care helped to bring the 4 original partners to 18 within 2 years. He came to Missouri from Seattle for the Latin American Studies program at Washington University, where he focused on research with Argentine worker collaboratives in Buenos Aires. Koch served as the Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of Casa de Salud, which facilitates the delivery of high-quality clinical and mental health services for underserved and uninsured patients in St. Louis. Since joining in 2012, Ms. Koch has ensured quality in the daily operations of Casa's primary care clinic, as well as guided the implementation of a case management program, an electronic medical record, and most recently, the Mental Health Collaborative. She has a master's degree in social work from the Brown School at Washington University in St. Louis. Welcome, Ben and Kate.
Great, thank you so much. So I want to start off just by providing a little bit of an overview of Casa de Salud, and then we'll move into more detail about the Mental Health Collaborative specifically. So Casa de Salud's mission is to facilitate and deliver high quality clinical and mental health care to the uninsured. And we have a special focus on immigrants, historically the Spanish speaking population. We're a volunteer-driven organization, which means that we have a small core support staff, and volunteers help us amplify our services across our departments to make sure we are reaching the people that we're hoping to reach. Our services are provided in 3 departments. The first is the medical clinic, which provides primary care on site at Casa. The second is our GUIA case management program, which helps people get care they need outside of Casa. And then our third is the Mental Health Collaborative. The Mental Health Collaborative really arose out of the failure, I would say, of our original 2 departments to satisfy the mental health need of our clients. Within the clinic model, we use a lot of volunteer providers, and to provide continuity for primary care, we were able to do that with every 3 or 6 month visits, and we have volunteer physicians, nurse practitioners, a whole bunch of specialties who are able to provide that. But within mental health care, where we're hoping to provide more continuity every week or every other week appointments, it was tricky to find volunteers. Within the case management program, I was a little bit more surprised, I think, originally that it was unsuccessful for mental health. We have really excellent case managers, and they can get people into almost any physical health service needed. So surgeries, cancer care, transplants even. But when it came to accessing mental health care, there was a lack of acceptability between both the service providers and the clients. So clients reported to us they would rather get mental health services at Casa rather than going somewhere else. And then providers, I think, within the mental health field have a slightly different orientation than within physical health. So when our third-party case managers would call to schedule appointments, instead of kind of welcoming that facilitation, the interpretation to get the appointments scheduled, that was seen a little bit as potentially coercion or lack of buy-in on clients' desire to get mental health services. So as a result, clients had to call and make appointments themselves, navigating phone trees or working with receptionists that only speak English, or leaving messages and hoping for a call back. Eligibility restrictions within mental health are also pretty difficult. So some organizations are limited to serve people in certain zip codes or have certain diagnoses or family compositions. And so not only are people having to call themselves during a mental health episode, they're having to call multiple organizations to find a good match. As a result, Casa had a fairly long wait list of people who were wanting to get mental health services on site at Casa. So that's really what resulted in creating the Mental Health Collaborative. It is a new model for service delivery for mental health services, and it's essentially a coordinated on-site referral model. Casa convenes partner agencies that all provide the mental health services directly to clients through their own models. Our partners are nonprofits and private practitioners. Some private practitioners are even beginning their private practice, and we're hoping to allow them to launch a practice that offers services to non-English speakers and underserved communities right from the beginning. So in exchange for rent-free space at Casa, our partners provide a percentage of their care to Casa-referred clients. And in order to help them do that, Casa's focus is to provide access facilitation. So that includes doing reminder calls, doing assessments at the beginning, assessments throughout of how care is going, providing interpretation and transportation support for actual sessions to make sure that our patients and clients are able to get services, and also that our partner providers are able to really provide those effectively. The model has been really effective in a couple of ways, but primarily it has helped be kind of a one-stop shop for clients. It's a no wrong door model and avoids that problem that clients have to face where they have to call around a whole bunch of places. They just call us, one assessment, we ask all the questions, that is all the eligibility criteria for all of our partners, ask them about their preference for a therapist, their preference for scheduling, and then we make a match with low burden on them. And then there's also benefits for the providers involved. There's limited capacity in the St. Louis region for bilingual, culturally competent mental health care, and this is a starting place for building that capacity. Our monthly case conferences allow providers with different levels of experience and different modalities to come together and share tips for working through difficult situations. Our case conference has a focus on counseling across difference, and it's really helpful to have people in the room that have dedicated their career to providing mental health care to immigrants, as well as people who haven't yet been able to work with immigrants before the Mental Health Collaborative. We also bring people together for collaborative fundraising. So instead of all of the organizations having to put forth the burden of doing grant writing and fundraising, Casa takes on a little bit more of that burden, but the money still benefits all of the organizations and allows a dollar to go a little bit further in creating access, because we're allowing therapists to focus on providing care and administrators to focus on those sort of administrative pieces. Overall, the goal is that it's easier for both clients to access care and providers to provide care to the immigrant community. And I'm going to turn it to Ben for some details about how we're doing now.
Hey everyone, so my name is Ben Zeno. I'm the mental health coordinator. So I've been lucky enough to take a good idea and get to make it work day to day. So I'll just give a little update on how things have been. It's been almost 2.5 years since the program launched, and that's when I came on board. And then I'll talk a little bit about some challenges, some of our goals and areas for growth, and then end by talking about what's been going on in the last 3 months with the coronavirus and how that's affected our treatment for now and what we expect to change for the future as well. So we started with 4 partners. We, as of this month, are up to 19 partners, 4 counselors on day 1 as well. We're up to 23 people providing therapy services right now. And over this almost 2.5 years, we've been able to provide over 5,200 counseling appointments with our partners. And that works out to be about an average of 8.5 appointments per unique client that comes in. Which shows, and also that those 8.5 appointments are spread out on average between 2 to 3 months. So it shows that clients really do value these services and they keep coming back. 75% of our clients are immigrants, which is squarely within sort of our mission, our target population, which is what we expected. And this current fiscal year, we've actually had a show rate just a hair under 80%, which is something I'm particularly proud of, given that typical safety, we're a safety net health clinic, and typical safety net show rates are much lower, some as low as like 40 to 50%. So this shows again that clients really value this, and it's comparable to the show rates we see for Casa's physical health clinic. And then the average time it takes for us to match a client with their ideal, screen a client and then match them with their ideal therapist, that whole process takes about between 3 and 4 weeks. And then on the right, you'll see a map of where our clients come from. So you'll see it's bigger dots are for the US and Mexico, but we've got clients all over Latin America, parts of Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and Europe. And then some outcome data right there. These are preliminary numbers, but they're encouraging. So these are sort of score changes for anxiety, depression, and trauma. So I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But so this is sort of the general things we're happy about, successes and progress over the last 2.5 years. As far as challenges we've encountered, so one is that because of this model involves partner therapists who are technically we're referring to another partner. Also just want to say St. Francis was on one of those earlier slides. They're one of our partners. So hi Meredith and Judy. So if we refer a client to St. Francis, for example, and they want to talk to the doctor who referred them from Casa's medical clinic, it's not as easy as if they all worked at Casa, where they're all on a treatment team and they all have each other's number and everything like that already. So there's a bit more facilitation and like releases that you need to sign to make that like full integration of care happen, which we're still sort of thinking through how we can break down some of those barriers and build more bridges between the programs. Because that is a higher quality care for both physical and mental health if you do so. There is a shortage of bilingual therapists in the St. Louis region, not just for Spanish, but for Arabic and Swahili as well, which are our other biggest language. That's something we all know who live and work here. And so that's why we've built this sort of long-term recruitment and retention idea and these collaborative opportunities that help build capacity and build cultural competency among therapists in the region who will then go to work in all different parts of the mental health system in St. Louis. And also why we are trying to build pathways with educational institutions. More on that next slide. We have seen more US-born clients than we expected, both with and without insurance. And what this really has told us is that there's just poor mental health access for everybody in St. Louis, frankly. It is a much less developed system than the physical health system in St. Louis. And so our mission is to serve the uninsured and the underinsured. And so those folks are still in our mission, but it's just because they maybe have a slightly easier time accessing services, it's just always important to keep in mind equity and making sure that we're really making just as much space for the clients within our mission, which we still are. With 75% of our clients are immigrants, but just something to keep in mind. And then last, we've had some funding related issues. They're not necessarily the traditional funding related issues that come up with nonprofits. One is the eligibility restrictions we mentioned earlier that made it so hard for our clients to access care elsewhere. It's really challenging to raise money and not end up repeating that same thing and getting funding that can only serve clients in Missouri, but not clients who live 15 minutes to the east in Illinois, just to pick one example because St. Louis is on the border. So So that's one challenge. Another challenge is that our model is unusually collaborative. It's a little hard to sort of fit a square peg in a round hole, or vice versa. Sometimes with the application processes that we have to go through. And then last, this is sort of actually on the provider side. I think there is a perception and a fear of funding as a zero-sum game, that there's only so many dollars that funders will devote to serving immigrants and these particular populations. Whereas we believe that if you have an effective program that is really, effective, creates access for a lot of people, you can actually grow the pot of money that actually goes towards this population. So some challenges on both sides there. Some areas for growth. So these are some goals for the future. We're hoping to shorten our wait time. We would always like to have a shorter wait time. Our sort of stretch goal is always to have 2 weeks or less be how long it takes to match a client with their ideal therapist. To do that, we need to make sure that we bolster high demand services. So certain clients might want a Spanish-speaking therapist. That does increase their wait time. So we need to keep those sort of long-term recruitment, retention, growing capacity for high demand services, being responsive to our clients' desires and needs. We want to improve access for non-Spanish and English speakers as well, kind of to this equity piece I mentioned earlier. Even for us, like our staff speaks, almost all our frontline staff speaks English and Spanish. And so we need to be very mindful that we are making it still just as easy for an Arabic speaker to get in, where we might have to use an interpreter to schedule them. And then last, I have been working we've collected a lot of rich outcome data for anxiety, trauma, depression, and progress data, but found that we collected all this wonderful raw data and then didn't necessarily have the tools to analyze it in the most statistically rigorous way and break it out by demographics. So I've been working on that as a project to sort of make sure that we can analyze our outcomes to be as equitable as the access that we create. And then last, just a quick update on how the coronavirus has affected our service delivery. So like pretty much everyone in the mental health space and most services people are delivering, we had to transition to telehealth on a dime, basically one day to the next, with very little warning. So it's been an interesting process. It's been a roller coaster, but there's been some interesting and sort of, some positive effects, some negative effects of that for our clients. So one positive is that our show rate has never been higher. So we have had a show rate above 80%, which is literally double what you'll see in some safety net health clinics in the region. And our appointment volume has also been on the high end of what it typically is. So between 270 to 290 appointments per month. At the same time, though, we've seen clients decline to do interpreted care over telehealth, even though we've worked out video teleconferencing with a local interpreting agency. So a lot of it has been, like I said, driven by client preference. We used to have 50 to 60 interpreted sessions per month in February and before that. And now it's closer to 15 is how many we had in May. And part of it is just a hardware issue. Clients have a smartphone. So there might be, if you can see my screen, this is how big a therapist might be, and this is how big an interpreter might be. And that's just much less ideal even than doing it on a laptop, especially if you add in any sort of unreliable internet connection or any other compounding factors. It's just really not ideal. Moving on, 70% of our sessions, according to the therapists, have been about COVID, or for a significant portion of the session. Although interestingly, presenting issues for our new clients, like the reason they're coming to counseling, have actually looked pretty much identical. So we've only had a few clients say, I'm here because of the coronavirus. If you didn't know there was a pandemic going on, you just read the intake screenings, it would kind of look like business as usual, which sort of surprised me. And then last, so what are we hoping to do in the future? So the goal is in August. So our medical clinic is opening first in July. And that plan is going on right now. And then afterwards, the mental health building, our plan is to open as a hybrid space for both clients and therapists. So we have 7 therapy rooms, and the idea is about half of them would go towards office space for therapists to be able to leave the house and do some work in kind of a calm, reliable environment for their telehealth. These sessions would still all be telehealth and, for the foreseeable future. And then clients actually would also have some office space available to do care on a Chromebook or another tablet so that they can have more reliable technology. we're hoping that will reduce barriers, particularly related to technology, and improve the quality of interpreted care. And just a quick shout out, that is being provided in part in collaboration with the Parkway School District here. And that is really a strength of our collaborative model, is we have a therapist who works at Parkway, and he was able to make that connection and get us connected with that technology. And just throughout, all the different people at the table have made it easier to pivot and be flexible. So that's sort of where we're at. Happy to answer any questions about that or anything else. And thank you so much for your time and your attention.
Thank you, Ben and Kate. Really appreciate it. We have time for questions, about 8 minutes. You can ask any of the 3 questions, any of the 3 panels questions. We can put them in the chat screen, or you can just go ahead and ask them on screen. Carmen?
Very, very good presentations, all 3 speakers, very clear and illuminating. I do have a question for the first speaker. I think it was Angélica. Angélica, your program, very hopeful and achieving results. My question is, how do you go about still the very important issue of having a background check if these people that get the certificate want to work outside the limited places where they are accepted without a background check? Because working with children is a very delicate issue from the, police point of view. So how do they get around not having the background check?
No, and you're right, and it's very unfortunate. We cannot admit students who do not have social security number, or who cannot provide us with a background check, because DHS is a requirement. So it is a huge barrier for me, and I'm still looking for ways. But the issue is, like, we can accept every student in our program, regardless of their immigration status, and they can have a scholarship. But the issue is when they have to do the practicum, when they have to do their time, the hours with the children, they have to have a background check. And we haven't been able to find a way to get the fingerprints. So far, we don't have students with no papers in our program. And it's very sad. It's unfortunate. And I'm still looking around. And if somebody knows, how can we do it here in Tulsa, I'm happy to hear suggestions.
Thank you. I have a question from Sal Valdez for Casa. Do you provide substance use disorder mental health services, or can you refer them on to organizations that provide English multi-language services?
Yeah, so we, at our medical clinic, hey, Kate, I haven't heard an update, but I know that pretty recently we were having conversations about getting Suboxone treatments that could be, or prescriptions that could be given out at the clinic, and that would be multilingual friendly with interpreters. And then I also have pathways with morphine clinics and other places that do have, at minimum, Spanish language professionals that are affordable as far as those services go. That's what I've got. Kate, what's the status on the Suboxone stuff?
Yeah, I think the referral pathways are pretty limited for providing those services, and we've been working on building capacity within our clinic. I think there's a shift within the substance abuse treatment world to providing that on an outpatient basis. We are fortunate to work with a lot of volunteers and a lot of people who have a lot of experience, but that's a little bit of a double-edged sword sometimes, as there's been an entrenched idea within substance use and that it's a very serious thing. It needs to be inpatient, maybe some unfortunate views about the people who access those services. So we are, because of the barriers within the system to providing those services, really trying to work with our team and get everyone into a place where we're comfortable with being able to provide that robustly on an outpatient basis through our clinic.
We have one question. It looks like probably for either one of the first presenters. Did you have to make adjustments for students that are parents, as some might have a couple of jobs and probably no one to care for their kids while they're here in the US? Karina or Angélica? I guess mostly it would be Angélica.
Yes, we do. Actually, most of our students are parents, and they have 1 or 2 jobs besides the 15 hours a week they have to do for the internship. So flexibility is a critical component of our program. Like I said, they know they have to take classes at night, 2 nights a week. And they have homework. And I sort of talked to them about that at the beginning, and how there has to be some commitment. But I work around, and again, case by case, things happen, but a lot of flexibility. And like I said, one-on-one mentorship. How can I help you? Let me help you to get through this. Let me find you resources. Let me find the ways. So I think that's critical, to have that flexibility and that one-on-one mentorship relationship.
And there's one more question for you, Angélica. One is, are there many applicants? And have you thought about creating a peer mentoring program to help facilitate the professionalization process?
We are now, this is the 3rd cohort, and I just recruited the 4th cohort for next year, and that is 1 male. Okay. So that's an improvement. So yes, there is 1 male student from Venezuela. So hopefully that number will increase as time pass. And I think the other is, no, I haven't thought about the peer mentoring program, and I think that is a great idea, and I'm gonna take a note of that, because I think that will be a good opportunity for educators to keep growing as professionals.
Well, we are out of time. I want to thank everybody for participating in the program today. For the presenters, you really should take a look at the comments. There were some nice comments about your presentations there. Thanks everybody for coming. Tomorrow we have the keynote session is by Lizette Hojeda. Veronica, did you want to say something about that before we close?
Thank you, Stephen. Just a reminder, it's at 1:30 tomorrow. I'm sorry, I'm going to send an email again just to remind everybody that it's at 1:30 tomorrow. Again, it's 1 hour long, and our moderator for that session will be Corinne Valdivia. And we look forward to seeing you there tomorrow, as well as Friday when we have our 3rd and final session. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.